So now we get the ledger board up to this side. We've done this side. Now what I did here is I cut these out enough on the edge that when I put the inside of the jamb on for the window jamb, or the reveal for the window, that everything is going to be flush and it's going to give me an 1/8 of an inch gap. So what I did there is I'm just going to miter cut the one piece on the jamb side, not on this side. And I did that last shower, I did, and it seemed to work out a lot better than trying to miter cut both of these and then trying to fiddle with them. It was a lot easier just to miter cut the one, and I just miter cut it a little bit more than 45 and give it a 1/8 gap, and it was a much stronger corner, I think, too, because the tile was kind of fit. There was less of a gap, continuous gap through there. So anyway, it worked out, so that's what I'm going with. So I'm going to start this side now. I'm just going to put the mortar on the wall here. Make sure we get that adhesion. Like I said, the Kerdi Fix and stuff obviously didn't look too pretty, and it doesn't matter as long as it's sealed, because you don't see it, because you're just going to make a mess over it anyway with the mortar. So I say get it watertight. Worry about the finishing when the finishing part's there, ready. I'm going to run this one up a little bit higher because last time I didn't go all the way to the top. I couldn't fit the trowel on the top, so it's a lot easier to run it up. I'm going to cut it a lot quicker this time. Nothing to go around. Now I just stapled that jolly to the wall on the edge. You can use tape. You can use the mortar does it, and the mortar will hold it. I'm just using it there for a reference point of level. And what I like to do is I like to get the mortar squeezed over the edge of the jolly so it grabs in the grooves of the jolly and grabs to the wall so it doesn't slide out after the tile's been set and hardened. And I'm running all my lines, track lines for the trowel, all the same direction upward. And the reason why I'm doing that is it's the shortest distance from the tile, of the width of the tile. So the tile is 12 by 24. So this would be the shortest distance for air to release. So that'll just help everything move along a little easier. Now I'll back butter these tiles as well. What I'm trying to do here is just get the mortar on the wall so I have good adhesion with the tile. Just working it into the wall, into the Kerdi board, because the Kerdi board's a fabric finish on it. And if I burn the mortar into it, it's guaranteed that it's going to grab, and there's not going to be any issues later on with the mortar falling off the wall. and just stick into the tile. And that's how you get pop tiles. So there. Yeah, that'll make my job a lot cleaner too. Last time I had mortar dripping down the tile. So now I'm just going to hit this corner. Just kind of run the corner of my trowel on the edge just to kind of clean it up. Just so that it doesn't squeeze out on me when I'm laying the tile. Clean up my tile here. A little bit of a overspew. Oh. There. Okay, so that's that part. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a full tile at that jolly, and then I'm going to run the half a tile, a little better than half a tile, and it'll make it look like it's continuing. I know it'll be a little bit smaller than half on this side, but it'll make it look like it's kind of folded in the corner. So I think that seems to look the best. Like I said, I'm going to back butter the tile. I just always set the tile on the edge of the bucket, it makes it a lot easier. Back buttered. Full coverage on the tile. And set in the mortar. Now if I want to pull that off, it pulled everywhere. So it's good. Made that just like a cone effect, I guess. Bunch of little frosted cones. Frosted tips, I guess you wouldn't call it. So that's that. Try to clean up your tile as you go. It's going to be a lot easier for you at the end. And the good thing is about stapling these, if you feel like they're not in the right place, you can just pull them out. The staples fall out. If they'll pass any of my waterproofing, I don't need to worry about the hole. Now I came out a little further off the tub on this side than what I normally do because there's a register on the other side on the floor. And I wanted to make sure that for the shower curtain it was going to look the same on the exterior side of the shower. So that's what I did to kind of overcome that problem. So what I do for easy measurement, set the tile up against the wall, set my leveling kit T in there, and then I just mark it on the edge of the leveling T, the leveling spacer, and or clip, whatever you want to call it, and that'll make it a lot easier for you. It'll give you the right cut. That's the wrong side. Good thing, that side had a chip in it. No. That seems to sit in there good. Got a little issue at the top edge. And I've got one of these. It's a buffing pad for tile and or for stone and concrete. So I'm just going to clean up the edge with that. It's got a diamond tip on it. For years I didn't have that tool, and I used to do that with a file or a piece of sandpaper. Yeah, I don't want to go backward. Back butter the whole entire surface. Always make sure your factory cuts are together, your factory joints are together. Make sure that these lines, these grout lines, run from one wall together. Make them nice and clean. Make sure that they stay nice and flush to each other. Sometimes if you get them off a little bit, sometimes you have to take your key to compensate for this. You can just take those spacers out, and then you have to make your own manually. Sometimes I use cardboard in that hole. Sorry about the glare from that window. I'm sure it messes up my video a bit. Anyway, once we get that done, we put two clips on the end and two clips a little less than half the tile on this side. So now, making sure we're flush against that jolly. We don't want it sticking out higher than the jolly. We want that face of that tile flush with that jolly on the edge. And if that's flush with that jolly straight up and down, that kind of gives me the idea that this side is straight up and down. The same plane to start out with, especially where this is the first tile. Sometimes you'll get them tipped this way and that way. You don't want that. So that's it for that. So now run our spacer or our wedges in there. Like that. And then check it with the straight edge. Make sure that this is flush. There's no tapping. And look at your level and make sure that it doesn't, or whatever you're using for straight edge, it doesn't rock or it doesn't have a gap in the center where the joint is. Because that'll affect you. Because if this is feed in or valleyed in and the two outsides are out, then it's not going to be, you're going to have lippage here for your next tile, your upper tile, or vice versa. If it's out, that's the same thing. Just depending on the sides of the lippage that you're dealing with here. You don't want no lippage. Like your mother. She didn't want no lippage none when you were a kid. So. Now, it appears to be this side of my line is not quite. For some reason or another, I have a corner tile sticking up. Oh shit. Sorry. Gotta make a little adjustment here. This one board seems to be just a little bit taller than the other one. Let me just tap that down. Now, I'm not overly concerned that I just tapped my, or just made a hole in my membrane at this point. And the reason being is because I'll just fix it with a little bit of Curdy Fix. There. There. Take the time and make your adjustments if you have to, because if you don't, what it looks like at the end is forever. You don't want it to look bad. If you have a bad tile job, it could be your first and last job. You know, you're only as good as your last job, right? So, take your time, and if it takes a little bit of time, then sometimes there's clips break off, you can see. And if one breaks off, you can easily change that. Just take the one inside it and slide it down the line, and then take the other one, another one, and stick it in the hole and replace it. And that'll make sure that that tile, that corner of all the transitions between the tiles is all the same, so there's no lippage. Again, straight edge, everything looks good there. There's no gap behind. If you get rockets like that, then you know you have an issue. So, I carry a rubber mallet, and that helps. It helps any attitude adjustments that you need to do. Here. There, that was done. Now, I'm going to grab another tile here. 2 tiles. So, like I said, I always did it on center with grout line center. It's like brick pattern center on this side. But on this side, it's a ½ inch longer than center. So I'm leaving that at a full tile and then adding the ½ inch. Am I worried about wasting tile? No, I'll use it down here. I can use the 2 tiles that I'll have left. I have to have a 3 tile strip on the bottom for the height of this tub from here to the floor. So I'll use it up there. So I'm not worried about wastage of tile here. It'll all get used. Within 10%. How's that? So anyway, I'm just going to set these these in here. I just marked them top and bottom so I can tell. Give me a reference line with my tile cutter down here on the floor. Even these videos would be better if I had somebody to take them for me. Because it's hard for me to be in everywhere and move the camera around, try to do it at live speed. That's the one. So there's the difference. About an inch. 3/4 of an inch. So the one I need is 3/4 of an inch longer than half the tile. And it's a finished edge, so I'm going to run this. But you definitely don't want any sharp edges. You should be able to run your tile finger across there just as fast as you want without cutting it, because that is like a razor blade if it's not toned down. That's for sure. So just be careful of that. Double check my tile before I go placing it in there. Everything looks good. Back butter. I always back butter away from myself. It makes it a little less messy on my body. Don't have to worry about mortar getting flinged at myself. There. And like so. That's good. So I'll show you. I cut. Nice smooth cut right up. Nice smooth gap. Oops. Trying to do this in reverse. Hard on my head. Nice smooth cut right up through here. This is all nice and even. Nothing past the corner here. You don't want to see the edge of the tile. So this is a 100 Jolly. 100. A100 Jolly. That's the size of it. And that's what I always use on a 3/8 tile on with a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch trowel. Take it back up my little hanger here. All right, there. So I have my next tile already ready. I'm going to back butter it. Oops. Put my clips in there. Wrong side. Forgot. Oops, I made a boo-boo. The clip's on the wrong side. There. That's better. No. Just gonna hit that nice flat, just tapping that with my rubber mallet. I don't want to hit it too hard. It can break the tile in half if there's any air pockets. You don't want to be breaking tile in half. Again. Make sure your jolly's good. There. There we go. Tap that back down because sometimes these clips raise your tile. Because when you put the wedge clamp in there, it'll push up on them. Because it wants to knock your spacer out of square. So just be careful of that. They will push back down. You just have to make sure you do it. If not, you'll lose your grout line. Now I have one more tile to cut, and then I got to cut the top. It looks like we're only going to get this one tile on. I just got to go to the other room and get some more tile. So at this point here, between the window wall and this end wall, so far I've used 2 boxes, which is 16 tile. There's 8 tile to a box. And they say 12 by 24. They are not 12 by 24. They are actually 11 3/4 by 23 3/4 in this lot. So be careful of that in your measurement too, because make sure you measure your tile before you start thinking about how you're going to do your layout, because you could be a ½ inch out pretty quick if you just go by your tile size and what you think it is. So be very careful of that. I just bought a new tile cutter last week, and I thought it was awful cheap, but I'll tell you right now, this thing works like a dream. I should have bought one a long time ago. I was just afraid. My last one cost me quite a bit of money, and this one here only cost me a little less than 200. So kind of had me worried. So a little snug on that. I'm just gonna shave it down with the grinder and the polishing pad. this out. So just set in there pretty good. I'm just going to take a little more off. Now I can back butter this tile. Yeah, you just seen me not check this tile. I didn't check it after I grinded it that last time because it was such a fine grind that I knew I'd probably be fine. So I hope I don't regret that decision here in a second. I'll know. I've also been doing this for a long time, so it makes it easier to know roughly where you should be and where you shouldn't be at the end of every cut. There. So my mud up there is just starting to get glazed. It's still tacky, but it's barely tacky. So that's the reason of the back butter. The back butter will actually make it stick to that mud, and that'll fix that up. And that's that glazing over stuff product, or the glazing over that happens in your mixture. You don't want that to happen. You don't want your tiles to crack off, so just be careful on what you're doing. So everything there looks it's good. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop it for now, and I'll see you in a minute. I'm going to put the last two pieces up, and then we'll go to the other side. Okay, so now we're back on here, and I'm just going to show you how I measure these out at the top. And I don't use a tape measure because these lines are obviously up and down with the ceiling. It's just easier to put the leveling clip in there for your space, and then flip your tile so the back is facing you. So when you flip the tile over after you get the cut, you're already measuring the right side. So this gives me my factory edge on the far side here, on this side, and then that'll butt up against the factory edge here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that edge up against the ceiling, and then I'm going to put my leveling clip there, and then I'm going to just put a little tick with the black marker. And then I'm going to go stick the edge of it to the leveling tee on the side there, and then I'm going to make it a little tick at the jolly, and that'll make sure that everything is the right length. And I'm going to cut that one first before I do the next measurement. So give me a second here. So there, now I cut it. So now I've got it to the right length, I hope. We'll find out here. Just gonna gauge it in. I think so, once we get it all into place. Okay, so then what we'll do is keep that tile backwards, and then up against the ceiling again, and then put another tick at the top of the spacer that is there. Now transfer those lines to the front of the tile, like so, with a little tick and a little tick. So you get a little dot there and a little dot here. Now I'm going to scribe this. This is not straight, so I just wanted a dot to start with and a dot to finish with. Don't run a black marker up a white tile, especially these ones. These Makita or Milwaukee markers, they're waterproof. And once it hardens, once the black marker hardens, you can't get it off with water. So you want to be careful of that. It's not like black Sharpie. Black Sharpie, you can wipe it off. Even next day, you can wipe it off. These ones you can't. Not unless you're using chemical anyway. Which makes it a big deal if you cut and then you have a raw edge, like say here, because now you're not on the finish anymore. Like if you leave a black line right there, if that was right there, along there, and that black line was there, that's very hard to get off, because that's into the raw material of the tile, and that's almost impossible to get off. So you have to be careful of that when you do these little marks. Don't make them too big. One on the top, one on the bottom, and we're going to make the lines connect. It's not level. They're different measurements, guaranteed. Did I measure it? No. Do I care? No. I know that this is going to work because that's the way it works. So I did it backwards, like you said, when I marked it. I marked it backwards, and I started from this up. This corner here was against the other tile, and this was on the ceiling, and this was just above my spacer. And then I did the exact same thing to this side on the ceiling and just above my spacer. And I've already cut it to length. You see me do that. So now I'm just going to put it down here on the saw, on the snap cutter. And when I put it up there for square, it's not square, obviously, because the lines are different heights. So very easily just score a line and snap it. And now it's there. So now you can see. I'm going to show you that. See that little black line? You don't want that on there. That little black line, you can still wipe it off when it's wet, but you can't wipe it off. See, it's gone now. That one's gone now from the face. See? So be careful of that. It's a little trick. Now I'm going to back butter this tile, but the drywall corner is a little bit higher than the Kerdi board that I have up there, so it's going to be a little more than just a back butter, than a flat back butter. I want to put a groove in just to give a little bit extra up there to make sure I got a good adhesion. So well, shoot, that's what happens. Watch your fingers. Sometimes they get slippery. Did I break the tile? Nope. No harm done. Lucky this time. So now, try this again. I stick this tile in there. What I was trying to do is wipe the top of it because I had a little bit of mortar that was going to touch the ceiling. And I didn't want that. No. I'm going to have the tile touch the ceiling. So I'm just going to shave that off with the Now, remember I showed you, I don't know if I did show you, but I do have a tarp in the tub, and it's loose laid in there, and that's a good thing. And the reason why that is a good thing is because what you just seen. If that tile drops, it gives it a little bit of an air pocket between the tarp and the tile, so it's going to be less chance of it damaging the tub. Very important. Just a little bit more, I guess. There, hopefully that'll do it. If not, we just do the exact same thing over again until we get it right. That's frustrating. A little bit frustrating. Okay, give me a second here. Got a fine grit on this polisher. I don't want to chip it, so I don't know what grit it is, but it's finer than the coarsest one, that's for sure. It's not like 500 or anything. I think it's like 100 maybe, or 200 or 220 or something. So it's filing down a little smaller, a little slower than what it could be filing if I had a higher grit, but then could have a chances of more tips. The other trick to that method is if you know what you're filing. So for instance, if you take that tile up there and you know that it's touching the ceiling still, you can just take that black marker and you can scribe a line there. That'll help you. That'll help you give you a guide so you know that you're getting it down far enough when you put it back up. Another thing you can do too is take it back out in the wet cell, which I'm not going to do. I have mortar on the back of the tile. I try not to get mortar all over the table of the wet cell. Yes, you should be wearing safety goggles. Just had a tip hit me in the lip because I didn't wear my safety goggles. Just gave me a reminder of what could happen. It could be my eyeball next time. So, just a little more.